The business of Muay Thai, gyms. One of the key components of the growth of Muay Thai in the United States and around the world are gyms. The business of gyms is much more complicated than what most people think. There are so many factors that have to be considered, like location, like staffing, like scheduling, like demographic. All these factors have to be taken in consideration when just starting a gym, as well as having enough money to start in the first place. You have to make sure that you understand that you're not necessarily going to be profitable immediately. When most people, they make the mistake, they think they're going to get rich overnight. No matter how popular, famous, how great they are, they have oftentimes this misperception that as soon as they open the doors, they will come. And that's simply not the case. Expect to invest at least 2 years before you start seeing a return on your investment in your ROI. Yes, there's exceptions. Without questions, there are exceptions. If you have proper mentoring and guidance, you can make this transition much, much easier. Now, those that are already established, it would behoove them to get help, to get, again, guidance and mentoring. No matter how good they think they are now, you can 10x your results in a very short period of time just by getting proper guidance and mentoring on all those factors. Now, here's the thing. You constantly have to evaluate, reevaluate, analyze, reanalyze. All those things, are they working? And it's consistent. It is a grind. It is constant. But once you set up those systems, there's nothing that can stop you from being successful, so long as you have all those key ingredients in place. The business of Muay Thai, promotions. Now, there are some great promotions out there in the United States. You know, we've got Dennis Warner, WBC. He's been around, probably the longest, most successful running show out there down in Southern California. Now he's expanding up into Northern California and other parts of the country, from what I understand as well. You've got Warriors Cup in New York City with Christian Chan, James Guccione, and Eddie Marini. They do a fantastic job, probably throwing shows every other month, and they're very successful at it. They pull from the entire Eastern Seaboard. Then you've got new promoters like former WBC Muay Thai professional heavyweight world champion Fabiano Aoki down in Phoenix, Arizona, with his promotion, Samurai Soul Fighting Championships. You also have former Muay Thai champion and glory fighter Richard Abraham and Maximus Promotions in Chicago. And down now, a new promoter in the San Antonio and Dallas area, Dominion Fighting Alliance with Eric Villarreal, right? All of these guys are creating opportunities, more and more opportunities for fighters to fight, to get the exposure that they need, to get that opportunity so that they can climb that ladder and get ranked, and also get that visibility to fight within a deeper network internationally. So the promoter is really, really key. A lot of promoters these days, though, a lot of them, even with the advent of pay-per-view, a lot of the promotion is very similar to the way things were done 20 years ago, and very, very dependent on ticket sales. Now, obviously, you're going to need ticket sales, but you're also going to need the opportunity to sell pay-per-views and get sponsors. And although there has been attempts, people don't understand that there is a very deep relationship. It's cause and effect. You have to have the eyes on the sport. You have to have more eyes through the pay-per-view, whether it be paid or not paid. You have to sell more seats or have more people in the arena watching these fights, so that more sponsors can actually sponsor these fighters, right? So there's a cause and effect. All these things have to be attended to in order for the sport to grow. A lot of the promoters are doing a great job. They're simply not making as much profit as they can, and therefore a lot of fighters are not getting the payouts that they need and the experience that they need to fight at a very, very high level, at least internationally. New students. New students are really integral for the success of a gym. Now, that could be more students, more of the same students, or a changing of the demographic. And what we're finding more and more as the sport continues to grow, and as you have role models like Stamp Fairtex, is that now you have more women participating. But not just only women, you have children, girls that are now very inspired because of Stamp, because of Jackie Buntan, because of Smilla Fairtex, because of Janet Todd, right? These women are paving the way for the future into a very, very new demographic of young ladies and young boys, young men that are looking to transition into the sport and to continue to grow this even more. So this is a very, very important sector of our community that cannot be neglected, that really has to be nurtured in order for our sport to grow. Geography. I had lunch today with Stamp Fairtex, and she's considering opening up a gym in the United States, specifically in California. So she was picking my brain, asking where I thought she should set up shop. Now there's a lot of great gyms in California, obviously. It probably has some of the highest number of Muay Thai gyms in the United States, right? As well having the most Thai Muay Thai trainers in the United States, all in California. What I had suggested is, one, location, location, location. Look at the density of the population. Look at the demographics of the population. Can they pay? Does your location have good visibility, right? Or is it in a warehouse tucked away where no one could really find it? And there's two ways of looking at it. You could be in a warehouse, have cheaper overhead, but spend more money on marketing, but it will take more time for you to fill in that space with new students. Now, you can also move into a retail center and have much more exposure, much more visibility. The caveat, of course, is that it's going to be much, much more expensive than a warehouse space. So, location. I had recommended somewhere like Los Angeles or Orange County. Southern California has probably got, I don't know, 15 million people in Southern California. And relatively speaking, there's not that many gyms given, the amount of traffic. A lot of people generally don't want to drive more than 5 miles, maybe for adults, maybe 7 miles. But in a very dense population where there's a lot of traffic, 5 miles can feel like an eternity. It can take you in rush hour probably an hour and a half to get from point A to point B, even if it's only 5 miles, because of the traffic situation. So that has to be considered. So what I'm finding is in the Los Angeles and Orange County area, there's not that many Muay Thai gyms out there, right? It's much, much more room. The problem is the rent is extremely high, right? Those particular areas are very popular, and therefore a retail center will probably charging minimum $10,000 a month, probably for about 2,500 square feet, maybe 2,000 square feet. The upside is, because those have high visibility and they are in a dense area, there'll probably be a lot more of the students or a lot more of a demographic that can support your gym and pay for it on a regular basis and on an ongoing, consistent basis. WBC Muay Thai, now under the leadership of Colonel Tanapong Baknabum and Secretary General Kevin Noon, is exploding globally. Not only are we exploding in Europe, in Australia, but all parts of Asia, Latin America, and especially in the United States. Right now, one of the fastest growing areas of Muay Thai in the world is WBC Muay Thai USA. And that's because of a number of joint efforts and initiatives to help encourage the sport, to grow the sport organically through the Muay Thai Development League, which was going to feed the MTAAC. Muay Thai Amateur Athletic Circuit was developed, and we were piloting it in Phoenix. We've piloted it in the Northern California, the Bay Area, and also in Hawaii. It's an opportunity for athletes to get a lot of experience in a short period of time. If you look at our boxing counterparts, okay, in USA Boxing, for example, yes, you might have Mayweather that might be 53-0, right, professional, but he had 90 amateur bouts prior to turning pro. Even De La Hoya, Cassius Clay had like 130, 135 amateur bouts. De La Hoya over 200 amateur bouts before going pro. I guarantee there's not one single American that has that much experience. And so the quality, therefore, is much, much higher for these boxers, and that's why they tend to get a bigger and higher payout, because of that experience factor, and you can differentiate that. With the MTAAC, it's going to allow us to now separate the country into 6 various regions and allow amateurs to fight almost on a monthly basis if they wanted to. Now keep in mind, our whole Our whole goal is to develop professional Muay Thai, but in order to do that, we have to have a massive amateur scene, which is primarily what it is in the United States. However, a lot of the amateurs are currently fighting like pros. Okay, no shin pads, no headgear, maybe the elbow pads. But the problem is injuries. You know, I had a guy that fought in the San Francisco Bay Area just 2 weeks ago, and he won pretty decisively, but he caught a kick onto his arm, and it broke his arm. And this is one of my really, really talented fighters. He's only 19 years old, but now he's out for 5 months. Realistically, fighters should be fighting once a month, right? They should earn that experience through these MTAACs, through national tournaments, regional and national tournaments, and before turning pro. And through this method, if they're fighting once a month, that's 12 times a year, maybe a couple of tournaments, they could potentially get 16 to 20 fights a year. And within 3-4 years, they'll have 100 bouts, and then they can turn pro. And then the uninitiated eye, someone that's interested in the sport, can clearly see the difference of skill from an amateur to a pro. And that's what that MTAAC is for. Now what we've got is we created an ascension that will now lead them into the pro leagues, which we are going to coin the major leagues, WBC Muay Thai major leagues. And that's going to be a pro, all pro card, which is going to be a conglomerate of different promoters throughout the country, right? So it minimizes the risk and it creates opportunity for these fighters. So going back to those 6 regions, what we're going to do is we're going to identify 3 fighters from each region at a particular weight class. I'm going to use a very common one, which is a men's 147 pounds. So for men's 147 pounds, we have 3 from 6 regions. That's 18 fighters. What we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, look, you're going to be fighting. We're going to have a set schedule that these fighters are fighting on. They know they're going to be on a 1-year contract and tier 1 salary, and they are going to be fighting, let's say, January in Seattle, April in Chicago, and they're going to do a rotation just like NFL, just like Major League Baseball, just like NBA, and it's going to create the opportunity for us to build all these personalities, and everyone's going to be able to track them with transparency as they fight toward the green and gold belt. So these guys now will be ranked within our own system. So in order to win that green and gold, you'll have to be within our own systems, just like ONE FC, just like the UFC, just like Bellator. We want to make sure that we can develop these fighters and give them the opportunity that they deserve. Rankings. So rankings are very important for promoters to know who are the top level fighters, who are the top 5 fighters, the top 10 fighters. A first set of rankings that we created about maybe 4 months ago was basically a compilation of everyone that we knew that were pro, but there was a lot more people out there. It wasn't perfect, but it established a baseline for promoters to work off. All promoters, regardless of which promotion, that could now pair people up to fight for title fights. And that's really important because prior to this, everyone was just sort of making, hey, here's a national champion belt, here's a world championship belt, but they did not follow a circuit or a ranking system. We did not include amateurs at the time. What we're going to be doing with MTAAC, as well as other amateur people that participate in other amateur shows, is to create a point system, much like USA Boxing. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to be rewarded points based on your level, your class. If you're novice class or C class or B class or A class, you're going to accumulate a certain amount of points per fight. You'll also get points if you lose a fight, which incentivizes people to fight more. If you take a fight last minute, you're going to get even more points, right? So that's really, really important for people to understand is we want people fighting on a regular basis. So that means, yes, you are going to be padded. Now, what you're going to find, though, is you're going to get higher and higher points the higher level and higher class that you're in, so that someone that might be in a high B class, even if they lose, will earn more points than someone in novice class that wins, right? A couple things that we are going to look to do is members that are WBC Muay Thai members that are tracked through our system will have to apply prior to their fights. 30 days out, they'll let us know in advance that they're going to be fighting on this promotion at this weight against this fighter, right? So in this way, we can follow up and track what were the results. Was it a win-loss? Was it a TKO? Was it a KO? And if it was there a suspension? We just want to make sure that also fighters are safe. But this also lets us know if fighters make weight or not. One of the biggest problems with a lot of promotions these days is that a lot of fighters don't make weight on what they agreed to make weight on, or they pull out prior to the fight, right before the fight. Points will be deducted if that is the case. If a fighter pulls out of a fight for any reason within that 30-day window, they will be deducted points. If they miss weight, they will be deducted points. And again, if they take a fight last minute, they'll be awarded more points. So the system rewards fighters and athletes that are competing on a very regular basis and that make weight and take last minute fights. International tournaments. So historically, WBC Muay Thai has only been professional, and it wasn't until the decision of some key leaders within the WBC Muay Thai community, such as Nash Kershwala out of the UK, Max Baggio out of Italy, Kieran Kettle, formerly of the UK, now of Calgary, Canada, right? They decided, let's start promoting amateur tournaments, amateur rules tournaments. And that started back in 2022, in the summer 2022 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with the first WBC Muay Thai World Youth Games, sponsored by Kieran Kettle. That was a huge success. Despite it coming out of COVID, it was a huge success. We had several countries out there, and it gave us the opportunity to understand the need and want for athletes to participate in these international events. The second one was about 4 months later in Hua Hin, Thailand, for the Amazing Muay Thai Festival, in conjunction with the Royal Thai Army and having 5,000 soldiers do a mass-wide crew to break the Guinness Book of World Records, led by Buakaw himself. Now that tournament was a smaller tournament because it was put together within just 5 weeks, believe it or not, but it turned out to be a great success. And in the evening, we hosted, I believe, 5 or 6 professional WBC world titles that evening. So that became another big success that led to the Amazing Muay Thai Festival in Venice, Italy in July of 2023. That had about 40 countries participating and about 500 fighters. It had 4 rings, and it was incredible. We included a B class to allow more people to get more experience, as well as an elite class, an A class, where professionals can compete under amateur rules with pads, right? So that, again, they can minimize their injuries and fight more often. And then we said, well, listen, let's do something down in Latin America. So we got together with our WBC Muay Thai counterparts, Julio Gamboa, the chairman of WBC Muay Thai Mexico, and collaborated with his Mexican committee, with the American WBC Muay Thai committee, and created the first Amazing Muay Thai Festival America Games. Had about 180 fighters from the USA, Mexico, Canada, and Chile. And not only was that really, really fun, it set up this relationship that's going to create this bond for us to do a lot more future work with our Latin American counterparts. We're hoping that next year we're going to have the Brazilians, the Peruvians, the Colombians, the Argentinians, in addition to many more Mexicans. We do anticipate it's going to probably be about 500 or 600 fighters next year alone. But what it also allows is us to develop this relationship with, again, other parts of this part of the hemisphere for us to do more pro shows. And being in Monterrey, which is only a 2-hour drive from Callan, Texas, and only an hour flight from San Antonio, it makes it very convenient for American fighters to fly there into a high-quality show and production to get international experience. So now what we can do is we can create North American championships, Southern champion, and then create intercontinental professional champions that can now fight over in Australia or Europe or Asia for international and world titles. So from these amateur international tournaments allows us to build our connections and our network for professional fights. And so this is really, really key in order for the sport to grow. Muay Thai in America. Some of the current and past problems and what we can do about it to resolve these. Number one, Muay Thai has been fragmented, right? It's been fragmented for a long time. As Muay Thai started developing in this country, a lot of people really didn't understand the rules and the regulations, and therefore a lot of promoters and commissions essentially made up their own rules of how to score and how things should be judged and how things should be handled. What's legal, what's illegal, what can you do, what can't you do, modified Muay Thai versus full rules Muay Thai. There's so many different aspects of or angles that promoters and commissions look at the sport that it hasn't really been unified until lately. Through the efforts of USA Muay Thai and now the WBC, there has been a huge push to create a unified rule system. Now, if you look at, yes, things are political, but at the end of the day, both USA Muay Thai and the WBC Muay Thai USA originates or gets their rules from Thailand, right? And so we're making it more clear to athletes, to coaches, to the general public, and offering courses such as the WBC Muay Thai USA Intensive, headed by Pete Peterson. It's a 3-day intensive course that really lays out the rules, regulations of not only judging, but also refereeing, and some of those key nuances that allow the uninitiated a deeper aspect of the game. Time and again you hear people say, oh, he got robbed, but there's no basis for it. If you don't have an education and you don't have a basis and what your argument is as to why somebody got robbed, then you probably don't know what you're talking about. What's important is that you should be getting this education to have a deeper understanding of what the sport is. If you are involved in the sport in any shape or form, I would highly encourage everybody to attend one of these courses, whether that be the WBC Muay Thai USA or even the USA Muay Thai. It's really important that it's attended in order to grow the sport. Right now, you do have all these organizations, and it is exciting, right? So long as that we can all, at the end of the day, agree to something and work together. I think there's a lot of pushing and pulling. I think everybody, at the end of the day, wants just one thing: for the sport to grow and to create more opportunities for everyone. The status of pro fighters in the United States. Currently, our professional scene is very, very small in the United States. Whereas talking to our counterparts from the UK as well as in Australia, most people turn pro right away. Now, the purses are much, much smaller than what Americans demand. Usually it's $100 or $200 on their first couple of fights, whereas a lot of Americans, when they turn pro, they want a minimum of sometimes $800, $1,000 to start off with. That may or may not be realistic for a lot of promoters who have to pay really high insurance. They have to pay the doctor, they have to pay the ambulance, they've got to pay the commission, they've got to pay the sanctioning body, so they've got to pay for the venue. There's so many things that the promoter has to pay for that it doesn't make sense for a lot of promoters to run professional shows these days. There are some out there and they're doing pretty well. They're doing okay, they're just not doing as well as they should. So when people talk about turning pro, it's more of a designation. Oh, I'm professional, I'm a professional fighter. But if people don't know you, people don't care. And if the promoter doesn't know you, then he certainly doesn't care. And if you don't add any value to yourself that the promoter that can see, where you're selling tickets or pay-per-views or getting sponsors, big name sponsors behind you, then you probably aren't going to get that opportunity to fight. And that's where a league really has to come in. A league that can really identify who these fighters are, put them on contract, and then fight them on a regular circuit so that they are getting the exposure and getting eyes on the sport, so that now they have a real professional career, and as they get more popular and their performance is much, much better, they're making more money. And so that's basically what we're hoping to do with WBC Muay Thai Major League. Hopefully other promotions will do the same, right? Hopefully more promotions will do the same. In this day and age, for a lot of pros, they're hoping to get a contract with, say, ONE FC. Now, a lot of Americans, they can get this contract, but more often than not, they're sidelined, and they're not fighting as often as they want to. They might fight once a year, maybe twice a year if they're lucky, if they're on a ONE FC contract. Certainly not as much financial opportunity and exposure as they would like. Kids and youth. Kids and youth is the most dynamic, most explosively growing population in the Muay Thai world right now, at least in the Western world, right? Now people are starting to discover Muay Thai. 10 years ago, nobody knew what Muay Thai was. Now it's exploding because of personalities such as Stamp, such as Rod Tang, such as Tananchai, such as Liam Harrison, such as Jonathan Haggerty. Now more and more Western kids are exposed to it through promotions such as 1FC, that now more kids want to be a part of it. They are inspired. You know, we had a stamp seminar today here in Stockton, California, Valor Training Center at our newest branch at Miracle Mile, and half of the demographic were kids, and half of that were girls. You know, you had 8, 9-year-old girls that were just with good technique and good form, and even Stamp said it herself, that are really inspired by Stamp. This is a really important demographic, and it ties back into what we were talking about in terms of gym businesses. If you don't have kids in your gym, you're missing out in a huge, huge opportunity, because that demographic itself, you know, oftentimes adults, they're busy, they've got bills, they've got responsibilities, but for parents, they want little Johnny, little Susie to be happy. And if they are stoked, if you create a program where they're excited, they're going to stay there and they're going to pay month after month, year after year. And if you nurture them and develop them, they'll stay with you longer. These kids will be with you month after month, year after year, and the parents will pay for them because they really want the best opportunities for their child. Everybody understands not only how effective Muay Thai is from a self-defense aspect, not only from a fitness aspect, but also from a mental health standpoint. People are starting to understand the multitude of benefits that stems from Muay Thai. And now with, you know, ascension models and platforms to compete, such as a Muay Thai Development League, right? Such as international tournaments. Now this creates an opportunity for these kids to want to do something on their own without being forced, doing something that they love to do, and ultimately they're going to get better, and it's going to put more seats in the stadiums, create more opportunities for them to purchase pay-per-views to watch their heroes fight, and it's all going to have this trickle effect that is exploding as it is right now. And so it's a very, very exciting time. Again, take care of the kids, youth, teens. Definitely look at developing and nurturing that particular market.